and the last frontier. That's bullshit. Once government got involved, that was history. Wild was before government got involved. Remember a couple old timers giving me advice years and years and years ago when I first got my first boat. I was like, I don't know, 16. And he said, "Farmer, it's the greatest part-time job in the world." Yeah, we need 500. I'm not. There'll always be 500. Look at that lower bay this year. I truly believe everything runs in cycles. Look at that lower bay this year. It's phenomenal. It's a cycle, just like your fish run in cycles. Everything runs in cycles. Oysters will be back. What year, can't tell you. Steamers came back all of a sudden. They'll be back again. Everything runs in cycles. The whole bay needs turning over. And we have more product to market, which is a good thing. That's why our prices are low, because guys were forced out of the industry and the dealers couldn't depend on a steady product coming in from Narragansett Bay. The whole thing went the opposite of the way it was supposed to go due to government meddling.
Shellfishing in Narragansett Bay actually began before the colonists came, when the Narragansett Indians were here. They took the shellfish out by a process that's still called treading. So you walk on the sand, you can feel the shellfish on your feet, and you just dig them out. And they used them for food, but they also used them for unit of exchange. They're the ones that actually taught the colonists how to utilize that resource when the colonists came. Today, the quahog is by far the most important resource harvested from Narragansett Bay. It's too cold up in the Canadian waters for the most part to sustain the quahogs on a high level. And as you get further south, there are a lot more predators like the blue crabs that interfere with their reproduction. So it's really in that central area, especially Rhode Island, which seems to be the best area. And the reputation is that quahogs from Narragansett Bay are the sweetest found anywhere along the Atlantic coast.
I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I let the dogs out, let them do their business, get them down to the boat, get them out with me. And by the time that comes around, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm steaming out to work. 4:30, 4:45, the sun's coming up, and that rake is in the bottom.
My father did it for a lot of years. I started picking with him when I was 5 or 6, and I got into junior high and had to do something, so decided to go quahogging. And my dad let me use his boat for the first couple of years, and then I got my own. And the rest is history.
The attraction, I think, number one, you're working for yourself. The shellfishermen say, you know, I can earn basically as much as I want. If I want to work hard, want to work 7 days a week, I can do better. If I only want to work 5 days, that's up to me.
I really love being my own boss. Can't beat it, you know. You set your own hours, you know, work when you want to, theoretically. You know, you end up working more than you would if you had a 9-to-5 job, but I don't know. I like not answering to anyone. That'd be my favorite part.
So you don't have anybody telling you what to do. Number two, you're not sitting behind a desk. You're out in nature.
Just that one little thing that you see in the middle of the winter or in the middle of the day or in the middle of the morning, it's like nobody gets to see that but you. You know, that person up in Providence ain't gonna see that. Nobody else is gonna see it, but you were in that particular spot to where if I was in a job at Quonset Point welding down there, I'd be in that little cubby hole with a preheated metal, and it's like, no, I'd take the water any day.
It's fresh air, it's sunshine, it's refreshing. And I think those two things are really the attraction. It's being out in nature and working for yourself. You might have a stereotype of fishermen as being like sort of uneducated or illiterate. These guys are very, very sharp, and they know a lot, and they think a lot while they're out there. You know, some of them. One guy actually had his wife go out with him sometimes, and she'd read to him while he was shellfishing. And so it's a life of quiet contemplation, and so I think that intellectually they do a lot of thinking about why they're there and what it means to them. And they compare themselves and contrast what they do to people with a life on shore, you know. People who have to work on shore at a desk, and they always say just how lucky they are to be out there and see those sunsets every morning.
This boat in particular, I bought in, I remember, it was my senior year of high school. I used that boat right there up until then. Boat I bought from Ronnie Major. You know, it was a good deal. Thanks, Ron. And yeah, kind of redid it, put the cabin in it, stuff like that. I'm trying to remember the year. 2003. So I've been 4 years with this boat now.
Why you haven't named the boat?
Never got around to it. I guess if I had to pick a name, we're gonna go with Mud Puppy. You don't name little boats. That's my theory. I went out with a gentleman. He showed me, see if I liked it. I decided I was gonna try it, so I had to go get, stales, and I used some of my dad's old stales. They broke pretty quick, so I had to go get stales and rakes and stuff like that. And so I go to get some stales over in Apponaug, or East Greenwich, I don't remember which. And my dad took me over, and the guy that I was buying stales from, he's like, "How old are you?" And I told him, "Oh, I'm 14." He's like, "Oh, you're gonna be a quahogger?" I like it, I'm gonna give it a shot. And he wouldn't sell me the stales unless I promised to stay in school. He says, "I ain't gonna sell you the stales unless you promise to stay in school." So I promised him I'd stay in school, and I did. I graduated, and but now I'm a quahogger. So it's kind of funny.
The bull rake has evolved really to the point now where the kind of bull rake that's being used is called a suitcase rake by most of them, and it's really nice because it won't dig itself into the sand. The old style, you had to really, really be good and experienced with it, because if you didn't keep it riding along the top of the bottom, then it would dig itself in. It could pull you right in, or you'd lose the rake. The bull rake itself evolved from the tongs. The tongs were really the first kind of method of catching the clams, and those are just like big scissors, really. And they say it takes a lot more strength to use the tongs, but also you can't go as deep. You can go maybe 15, 20 feet.
These are a pair of hand tongs. These are the heads. Go to the bottom, and there's teeth on them, just like a bull rake. These are shorter teeth because they're using hard bottom. The person that's standing in the boat would be up there, and they drop these down to the bottom, open them up from the top, put the teeth in the bottom, and then they slowly work them shut. They collect any quahogs that are in the bottom together. Then they're closed and hauled up to the top. Then they're opened, and the quahogs are taken out, and it's dropped back down again.
With the bull rakes, you can keep adding the stales, which are the aluminum poles, and they can go down 50, 60, 80 feet with those things. So you make more of the resource available to you if you're using the bull rigs.
We attach aluminum pipes. They all kind of fit together, bolts, you know, stuff like that, clamps. And comes up to a T-handle here with a float, so that when you haul it up, this end doesn't sink and hit the bottom when you're drifting back. Just it'll bend it, so it's got a float on it, T-handle to hold, so you're not pulling this way. This is effectively called long raking, bull raking, if you will, with a longer pipe. Basically, at the end, we have a bull rake. It's got teeth, dig into the mud. It pulls along, pushes the quahogs to the surface where they're put into a basket behind it. It's a wire basket that holds the quahogs, shells, whatever comes up in it. If they fall through, they're not legal. If they stay on top, they're legal, and I can sell them. And that's a basic long rake setup. All right, we got different sizes. Where we're working today is a mix of different size stuff. It's a lot of bigger necks, a few tops and bigs. This is your bigger size quahog right here. This is on the small end. We don't have any big ones. This is called a chowder or a hog. It's all by width. It's sizes of them based on the machines we run them on. This would be used for chowders, stuffies, things like that. Next size down, you have top necks or cherries, if you will. There's kind of two. These are your medium-sized quahogs. This would be like this. This one here, things like that. You know. These are used for like clams casino a lot of times, things like that. Some people like them on the half shell, and very good eating. And then you have your neck size. You have your little necks or count, which would be these here, you know, which have just legal size. You know, and then all the way up to your bigger necks, which is something like this here. These are all kind of grouped together, although a lot of places will differentiate them. They're good for, you know, a lot of people like them in like spaghetti, things like that. Eating them raw in a half shell, you put them on the grill or something. These are probably the most popular, and we usually get paid the highest price for these in this size range here. Well, sometimes a year it's opposite. And the ones that fall through the rack are undersized, and we let them go. They're babies.
This is a quahog rack. We get the 1-inch spacing. That's what the state allows you for undersized. I'll find one if I can. We're in basically no undersized here. But I'll find one. None. That's a good thing. No little ones, that's a good thing. But in price-wise, it's a bad thing. 17 cents for these. 10 cents or 11 cents for these. And the chowders are 40 cents a pound. So you try to figure it out in your head, what you can dig, where you can dig, how you can dig, what spot you can dig, what time of the day you can dig, which you can dig to bring to the market of how you can catch it. So you shake it, no undersized fallout, pull it over. Dump it in the bucket. Shellfishing is in trouble in the bay because fewer guys are doing it. There's less stuff on the market. They're getting more stuff out of state. And throughout the years, it's going different cycles. Back in the early 50s, 60s, we had all tongers. Then the bull rake came along. We put all the tongers out of work. Then we had issues with divers back in the 70s. And that went away because we thought we were going to lose our livelihood. Now it's aquaculture we're all scared about because we're losing the numbers in the bay. Aquaculture's moving in, pollution's moving from the north, aquaculture's coming in from the south, and we're all scared. And the way it used to be is going by the wayside. It'll never get that way again, you know?
I'm not a big proponent of aquaculture. The problem is, I mean, it is it's public land, and it's everyone's land. And now all of a sudden they're getting, taking these chunks of land and, they're becoming privatized, and they're making money off of public land. Fishermen can't use them, quahoggers, recreational people can't use them, a lot of boating restrictions, things like that.
And so we're going to try to use public enhancement aquaculture to make it better for the whole bay. Now I got a project going on right now. I'll show you the 2 docks. They're over there where we grow clams in the docks, and we put them out. This is a public enhancement aquaculture program involved with the state, Roger Williams University, and the shellfishermen in Narragansett Bay to enhance the bay with little babies that we grow ourselves, and we put them out for public enhancement aquaculture so everybody in the whole state can grab the clams whenever they want.
And they're actually grown to the point where they can put into clean water, and then they're available to all the quahoggers. So it's not like private aquaculture where all the proceeds go back to some corporation. This is really for the public in general, which I think is a good thing.
You grow them up to whatever size you showed me, and then what do you do from there?
We bring them out to Greens River. That's a conditional area. It's closed for 2 years. So what we do is we'll go in there and we'll seed it. Just throw them out there in the wild. It's only, let's say, anywhere from knee deep to ankle deep. So anybody can get them, everybody can get them. It's for the public enhancement aquaculture program that we run. So we're trying to seed areas of Narragansett Bay for the public and the fisheries. These are the bins we grow them in. Each one of these bins, each one of these docks hold 1 million clams. We release them into the wild for everybody in the state, residents, commercial, whoever, to be able to go out there and fish them. And the trickle-down effect on something like that runs all the way from buying outboards to pumping gas to buying oil to a person coming out of Connecticut, renting a beach house, and coming to this area where we put these clams and saying, wow, we had success. We dug a little peck of clams that we're entitled to, and we're going to have a meal out of that for free. And so, like I said, the trickle-down effect, it goes all the way to tourism. Tourism and industry working together.
Well, there are a number of factors that really impinge on the day-to-day activities and success of the quahogger, and environmental issues are one of those large factors that have an impact. The reason pollution affects the quahog is because they're filter feeders. So they filter the water and everything that's in it through their bodies, and what happens is not only do they get the nutrients they need, but they also accumulate toxins, whether it's bacteria, viruses, or other toxins that are harmful to human beings who might eat the clam. So that's why polluted water really doesn't go at all with edible shellfish.
There'd be sewage, floating by you when the tide would run out of the Providence River, literally. And right now we're having water quality issues in Narragansett, in Greenwich Bay. Unfortunately, it's going to close us out of the best time of year when we actually need to get in there right before Christmas and New Year's to get the product out. There's an incredible resource in that area, but unfortunately, water quality is a little poor. So we're going to get shut out of it in December and January. And it's going to cause some market problems in February. We're all kind of holding on. But, we're working with the state, hopefully, water quality, all these different agencies, to actually go test, see where this pollution's coming from. Why is it doing this in December and January when it's not supposed to?
We're not working Greenwich Bay.
Where are you working now?
We're working the transplant program.
Okay, but
Greenwich won't open until February because of pollution problems. We're usually fishing that right now,
Yeah.
but we can't fish that right now because there's pollution problems. And they don't know where it's coming from. So we're shut out of it now. You know, the most valued resources in Narragansett Bay is right there in Greenwich Bay, but we can't fish it now because of pollution problems. You know?
Well, about a quarter of Narragansett Bay total area is available for shellfishing at any time. Now, there's certain areas that are basically permanently closed. So, the closer you get up the bay toward Providence, you know, north of Warwick Neck, that area is closed a lot of times, almost all the time. Allen's Harbor is another area. And then some areas are day to day, so you have to look in the newspaper to see which areas are closed. Either due to non-point pollution, that's just runoff from heavy rains and so on, or because the sewage systems in the areas that feed into Narragansett Bay are really inadequate. And so they overflow and they go into the bay, and that's going to cause many areas of the bay to be closed where that pollution and runoff goes right into the bay. So every day is a different situation. It's very, very dynamic.
But in general, the bay's been much cleaner. We've got some money, you know, for monitoring, and you know, it's cleaning up and it's looking much prettier, and things are going in the right direction. You know, even though we are shut down when we need to, you know, ensuring a good product and it's healthy is just as important as getting in there. So, you know, I support finding out what the cause is and fixing it. You know, we want our consumers to have faith in our product, that, you know, it is a healthy product, and, you know, you won't get bad quahogs from Rhode Island.
I think one of the more effective programs that DEM is employed with shellfishermen is the transplant project. One of the problems that the transplant program addresses is so many clams are living in areas that are polluted, so they're unsafe for human consumption.
Yeah, our transplants start in May, during the summer months, and we dig them during the winter months, and it runs all winter long.
So they pay them to dig the clams from the dirty area. Then they go and put them in areas where they can clean themselves out in clean water. And the good thing is, after several weeks or months, the shellfish are really clean. They've been in the clean water long enough to get rid of all the impurities.
If you're gonna go out in a big boat and dump, they give you $7 a bag.
Yeah.
But if you have the appointment or whatever, a lot of guys take off, so if you just want to drop your bags off, you get $5 a bag.
Yeah.
So you get 2 more to go out and help dump.
Yeah, I think so. Well, no, actually. Well,
And then in the wintertime, when it's pretty nasty out on the bay, when it's windy and it's cold and maybe it's icy and freezing, the shellfishermen can go in and dig the clams that they already dug once before and put there. So then they can dig them again, take them to the shellfish companies and sell them. It's a win-win for everybody, really. It keeps the resource available, as well as giving the shellfishermen a place to go in the wintertime when it's not too bad.
So it's all about producing clams and putting more clams on the market through Narragansett Bay, so we can have more guys come into the bracket. Right now there's a moratorium on the licenses, so we need to make it better so we can have more people come into the racket. We used to be 75% of the East Coast market. Now we're only, like, say 10%, 5%. So we're trying to get back into that. That's what it's all about with the transplant and the relays and the seeding so forth and so on.
Okay, at the end of the day, for the quahogger, that's about noon or maybe a little later. It's time to start packing it in and head for the shellfish company to sell out. Selling out really entails taking your bags of clams into a shellfish company where it's sorted by size, and then you're paid according to the different types. The smaller ones you get paid more. The larger ones you're paid actually by the pound. And then it's time to go home.
So what do you see as the future of the quahogging industry?
It's really tough to tell with the average age of quahoggers getting so high. You know, there's people dropping left and right. Hope that doesn't continue, because eventually it's going to get to the point where there's not enough people to keep the dealers open. You know, dealers keep closing, and before you know it, the industry's gone. So you know, we haven't had real good sets in a couple of years for quahogs. You know, I mean, we're still catching well. There's nothing, you know, we're having a decent year. Quahogs to be caught, but going from 2,000 people to 50, they would say that that's pretty much over. But the future's kind of unknown. Just depends on a lot of factors. It's fishing, so you never know.
And the sad thing is, 20 more years from now, who's going to be left on the water? There ain't going to be nobody left here.
Yeah, and you got to think, as part of the big scheme, the way they're doing things, you know, geez, there's a kid that wants to get out there now, try his luck. Like I said, he sees it. It kind of looks romantic now, you know, we're all getting the tans. He can build his body up free of charge out here and make a few bucks to boot during the summer months when it's nice. But no, they won't allow it. Makes too much sense. I'll be here, Mikey.
Well, Jeff, that's a good sign. But the sad thing is, there's no future in this. That's what sucks about it.
But Jeff, you can't be working out here full time. Because you're going to be the director of DEM so you can straighten the bay out. We need 500 more Jeffs. You know, you need power. You need his youth, you need his brain, and you need more of them. Got any clones at home, Jeff? Because, you know, guys like Jeff had a lot more numbers, you know, could change this industry. And it's those guys that have to do it.
And that, my friends, is a day of quahog.